So here we go. I want to do a quick report here before tomorrow's May 12th WASDE report. The WASDE is the World Agricultural Supply and Demand Estimates, and it's the government report that the market trades off of. You know, it's where everybody draws their information from, whether you're a buyer, seller, speculator. And tomorrow is going to be a fairly large one, just because, you know, it kind of sets the stage for the 2021 crop year and starts to wrap up the 1920, you know, putting some ending stock numbers together, making adjustments, and with the market situation that we've been in, you know, it has the potential to be kind of volatile. I wanted to do this because you know, there's a lot of different opinions out there, and you know, a lot of guys right now don't, you know, and I'm one of them that really doesn't know what to think. But you know, I'm wrong every day, so I guess I'll have an opinion, and you know, I'll kind of show you what I look at whenever, you know, I form an opinion on the market, and some of the different information that I use. So going into tomorrow, you know, I start looking at corn and you know, where I think it's going to land. The big things on corn right now is corn planting is just moving along at a record speed. You know, the estimates right now are that as a nation, we're probably 70+% planted on corn. You look at some of those Midwestern states, and they're pushing 80-90% planted, which is some big stuff. Considering, you know, it's only the 11th of May, versus last year when that stuff got put in later, probably under worse conditions, and still fared pretty well. So you start to look at production numbers on that, and you know, I think you know, so you got 70% planted on something that, you know, a lot of estimates are putting that at 96 million acres, which is some pretty big production. So you have that, you know, you have that supply curve going way up, and on the other side you have what we've seen in the past, you know, 6 to 8 weeks is just a complete demand destruction across the board. You know, the estimates right now on ethanol is that they're probably going to end up cutting ethanol, you know, 200 to 300 million bushels. As far as the demand that they're calling for, which is a pretty good chunk. And you know, it still remains to be seen how that plays out through the rest of the year. So you know, that's going to be a big thing. Looking out into 2021, you start looking at some pretty big supply to usage numbers. You start talking ending stocks, you know, in the 3 billion plus, and you know, that you're looking at a lot of corn and not a lot of places to go with it. So you know, in my opinion, it has the potential to be extremely bearish. But you know, the big question is how much of that the market's already priced in. You know, a lot of this stuff is buy the rumor, sell the fact, and you know, you got to think that the market's already priced a lot of that in. With that being said, that, you know, the overarching wild card in the whole thing is China. You know, what do they come in and buy? You never know. I feel like we've been 2 years saying, you know, but we never know what China will buy, and it's cautiously optimistic is how I'll put it. So corn, you know, I would say bearish corn. I wouldn't be surprised. You know, once we get into the, you know, the fall months, OND, the December corn trades, I wouldn't be surprised if we were trading sub $3 corn when the December's in the front month. So, you know, to hedge against that, you know, you start looking at, you know, buying some puts now, or, you know, starting to hedge some of that production out. Moving into beans. Beans are kind of painting a little bit of a different story. Yes and no. Beans right now, you know, estimates are 35 to 45% planted on beans. And, you know, again, that's farther ahead than we were last year by a large margin, and still keeping along at a pretty good clip. The issue on, you know, the issue on beans is that the export demands haven't really been trimmed to the severity that most think they need to be in the USDA's reports. You know, going all the way back to last summer, when a lot of that, you know, Chinese demand never really came through. Those demand numbers were really never trimmed to what they probably should be. So that's kind of hanging over the market right now. And, you know, I think the last carryout numbers were like 480 million. And most think that with the drag that we've seen with the coronavirus, that number realistically could be pushing 550 to 600 million by the time we're done with 1920 crop. Now, with that said, you know, we start looking into 2021. Estimates right now are putting it about 82 to 83 million acres of beans planted, which is a pretty good decrease. And we start kind of looking at what the demand picture looks out there, and you start painting a picture for 21 carry out to be, you know, less than 400 million, maybe 350. And if that's the case, you definitely can paint the bullish picture for beans. Along with that, you know, if you kind of follow the ethanol thing and the DDGs, you know, there is some optimism on the crush side of things that should that market kind of go away, you know, that bean meal has the opportunity to replace DDGs as a feed ingredient. So, you know, it remains to be seen, but I say, you know, I'm a little bit bullish beans. You know, I'm hoping we can push up towards that, you know, into that, you know, call it $8.75 to $9 range. And maybe that's a little too optimistic, but another thing I kind of wanted to touch on was, you know, aside from your fundamental analysis, so your fundamental analysis is basically looking at the news, looking at, you know, planning numbers and projected usages and things like that. The other side of that is technical analysis. So basically looking at charts and numbers and you know, kind of, it's a whole other side of the market, but it is one that, you know, a lot of your speculation and algorithms seem to kind of work off of. So when I'm looking at the market, you know, I will go in and I will look at, you know, your support and resistance points to kind of get a feel for where that market's going to trade as far as a range. You know, your momentums kind of show you where the market's headed. And then looking at charts, there's a lot of different indicators that I look at on charts, but kind of the holy grail, it seems to be for technical guys, is the Ichimoku cloud. And that cloud kind of shows you a lot of what you're, kind of puts it all together. So whenever, you know, I'm looking at technical type stuff, I normally go there first just to say, okay, you know, we're probably going to hit resistance here. We have support here. We're kind of stuck in this range. And I'll throw both of those up for corn and beans right now, just to kind of give you an idea of what I look at. But again, this is just one man's opinion. You know, we say it in livestock all the time. It's just one man's opinion. But I figured I'd throw this together just to give, you know, somebody who maybe has been disengaged. I know a lot of us have just kind of shut it off lately just because it's been so, it's been a tough road. But, you know, I figured I'd throw this out there, and like I said, it's just my opinion, and you know, I'm wrong all the time, but the market will tell us either way tomorrow. So hopefully we get some good news. But either way, stay tuned, and you know, let me know if you have any questions or feedback. I appreciate it. Thanks.